Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Age of Empires 3 Noob Cup 2 Finals. Everything has led to this moment. 11 contestants battling through qualifiers, quarterfinals, semifinals, finally leading us to this moment. 2 contestants remain, battling one last time in a best out of 5 series for Age of Empires glory and the chance to be Noob Cup champion. Now, I've got the game pulled up, but before I start analyzing the match, I want to go ahead and share just some quick words of thanks. First off, I want to thank God from whom all blessings flow. I am an incredibly blessed man, able to cast an amazing game with some amazing players to an amazing audience. Praise Him. On top of that, I also want to thank each and every one of my players. You guys are amazing. You know, you join into a tournament knowing you're literally noobs, you know, you're new to the game or you don't have that experience that the players have, and you join into a tournament. You guys have some guts, and I don't care whether you got knocked out in the qualifiers or if you find yourself here in the finals or anywhere in between. You are, in a very real sense, a winner. It's just you got something that very few other AoE players will ever have, which is the experience battling it out in a tournament environment. So really appreciate you guys joining in on the tournament. I also want to shout out the AoE3 community. One of the things I love about Age of Empires is the widespread global nature of the AoE fandom. I mean, I'm over here on the East Coast, United States, casting this game, and I've got American contestants and viewers, but I've also had people from around the world, people in Mexico, Spain, Germany, people, again, globally taking part in the tournament, who have advertised the tournament, people who, again, people watching the tournament. Thank you guys. It means a lot. I especially want to shout out Gaius Julius Magus and the German AoE community. Guys really did a lot to just spread the news about the cup, and I think several of our contestants were in the cup because of him and him spreading the word, as well as the ESOC community, or ESOC. You guys also helped get the word out about the Noob Cup, and it is what it is today because of you guys. So thank you so much. And finally, I want to thank you, the viewer, for sticking around, watching the whole series, joining me now for the finals. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you guys, and I want to start the tournament by getting this out of the way one last time. If you've enjoyed the series, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment letting the players know how much you've enjoyed this cup, because I'm sure they'd love to hear that. And go ahead and let me know who you think, right now in Game 1, before we get started, who do you think is going to take this thing? With that, let's go ahead and dive into our first match. And here we are, in the blue, Casper, playing as the Russians, a civilization that we've seen somewhat rarely in the tournament. I think Hothier brought them out once, but I believe that's the only time the Russians have been used. They are a very interesting civilization. They train just about everything in bulk. So their villagers, for example, cost 260 food in order to train a batch of 3. Most civs need 300 food to train 3 vills, but then again, you've got to spend all that food up front as Russia. You're not able to train the vills incrementally like other civs can. So the Russian economy can be clunky, especially if you've not taken the time to master how they work. So they can be a very tricky civilization to play, but if you get a handle of that economy, they can be very strong. Especially keep an eye out for their barracks. They also train infantry in bulk, and Russian infantry is weaker than most infantry man-to-man, but again, the Russians are able to train in mass in a way that other civilizations cannot. So Russia, a very interesting choice, and I'll talk more about them and Casper in a second. But meanwhile, in the red, we have Hololive Great Inquisitor playing as the Italians. The Italians we have seen a couple of times in the tournament. I believe Hololive has played them before, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yes, in the battle against Valkyrie, Hololive Great Inquisitor played as the Italians. And so this makes sense to me. That it fits very well with Hololive's strategic profile, which we'll talk about in a second. But for Hololive, what we see is with the Italians, they have a very strong economy. You've got a combination of picking up villagers with every single technology you research, as well as the Architect, which is a special unit that can slowly build buildings for free, right? So what we might in fact see from Hololive, we'll have to keep an eye on this, he may train multiple architects so that he can build multiple buildings for free at the same time. That would not surprise me if we see that out of the Italian player. Now, before the action starts, one of the things that I want to talk about is actually the profile of our two players, because at this point in the finals, we've got multiple sets from both Casper and Hololive, and I think it's a really interesting matchup that we have here. Casper has been playing in the tournament since the qualifiers. He was one of the very first players to play in the tournament. He's had one of the longest roads to get here, a longer road than Hololive. So he's been around for a while, and what I've seen from Casper that's so interesting is a very dynamic playstyle. Casper plays different kinds of strategies based off of, well, I'm not sure. The civilization he plays, maybe the civilization his opponent plays, the map, whatever he's feeling, I don't know. But Casper plays differently from match to match. If you were to go back and you were to look at, like, for example, his qualifier match against Testificator, he had a very aggressive early game 1 against him, knocking him out with an Ottoman rush. But then in game 2, had a much more defensive fight on the water and used the trade posts to actually win with a trade victory. Then, in his battle against Hothier in the qualifier and in the quarterfinal, he started out with an economic focus playing as Japan, and he ended up getting beat by Hothier and his Sweden push. But then in game 2, he defended successfully against Hothier's Ottoman push with the British, playing a little bit more of a turtley sort of game, and then turned around and overwhelmed with a British longbowman push. And then in game 3, he used the Ottoman rush himself very aggressively, very effectively, to knock Hothier out of the tournament, right? And then in his semifinal battle against Shaitan, Casper used strong eco and kind of a more, again, I won't say passive, but a more defensive playstyle in order to get on an economic domination to win the game. So I think we've seen generally more of a preference for passive economic focus, but little a, little b, I've seen both strategies out of Casper. Hololive, in the meantime, his main strategy seems to be a very strong economic defensive focus. He is a very good player if the game goes long. If the game goes late, I think that might play to Hololive's strengths. And that's hard to say, because Casper also likes to play long sometimes. But Hololive, almost universally from what I've seen, prefers for games to go long. We saw that first in his battle against, let me see, it was against Xander. Hololive sat back, built up a really strong economy, used that to get big army numbers, and then overwhelm his opponent, right? That was Spain in game 1 for him. And then in game 2, I believe Hololive is the only player who has used a revolt in the tournament so far, if I'm not mistaken. He used the Portuguese revolt to go to Brazil and just overwhelm his opponent with his massive economic numbers, right? His vills all turned into revolutionaries and just this huge army that couldn't be stopped. And then in the semifinal series against Valkyrie, which was a best of 1, unfortunately, but same kind of thing, he built up this, he started off with a good early military to repel Valkyrie's push, so he does have a defensive mindset to him. He's not just going to blindly, build up. He will have defenses. But he built up an army, repelled Valkyrie's attack, and then used that superior economy to get up to the 3rd age, get cannons out, and just, blow away his opponent, right? Speaking of, Oprichniks come in just as the Pavicier come out. I believe Oprichniks win that fight, but Musketeer already on the field, and that was just in time. If Casper had gotten in there, I don't know, 15 seconds earlier, some damage might have happened there, right? Oprichniks are a really interesting unit. They almost remind me, for you AoE2 fans, of the Tarkin for the Huns. To my understanding, the Oprichnik's main feature is the siege attack. They do incredible siege damage. They're great at killing villagers, raiding buildings. Not as strong of a fighter on the field. If you're looking for just cavalry, melee cavalry, you're probably better off going with the Cossack. But the Oprichnik here, if it is allowed to do damage to structures, will melt the Italian base very quickly. And we don't just have Oprichniks. For the Russians, we have, let's see, 13 Strelets, 10 Musketeer. By the way, if the units look different to you, that's because I have on one of my favorite mods currently, the unique army mod. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I've featured it on my channel before, and it's a really great mod that shows off the just a lot of really historical designs. I think it makes the game look beautiful. I love playing it with myself. I have it on for game 1. I'll go ahead and turn it off for the remaining games, just so that you get the vanilla AoE3 experience for the tournament. But I do like to shout them out, because I do love that mod. I love what they do. It's really great. The Russians, shipping 2 Falconets. I believe this is the most powerful Fortress Age card in the game. Russians getting cannons on the field. The Italians, meanwhile, in the Third Age, also has a Falconet card, but it's not been shipped yet. Instead, we have Genoese Financiers coming online. This will deposit 1,500 coin into the Lombard, which means, in practice, Italy is going to trickle in quite a lot of wood and quite a lot of food. That's great if he can withstand the pressure. But he might need to ship some military cards now in order to deal with Russia's advance. He doesn't see it coming. More Musketeer coming out. The problem for Italy is that cannons absolutely shred infantry. He will need these veteran dragoons in order to deal with the Oprichniks. That would be nice, but then also the artillery. You need cavalry or artillery of your own to deal with these Falconets. Oh. And Casper correctly focusing on the infantry with the Falconets. The Strelets are light infantry. They're going to do bonus damage against the Musketeer as well as the Dragoons. This is rough. This is absolutely rough for Hololive. He's having to garrison his vills, and now there's no army on the field other than the militiamen. That means that the Oprichniks can pull back and siege down the buildings. Doesn't matter. Hololive is going to call the GG. Casper's surprised. He's like, wow, you're not going to fight this longer? Hololive says, nah, I really don't think I've got it. Not enough resources. If we take a look, he's trickling in some resources right now, I think, with the Lombards. But, yeah, he's kind of empty. He invested a lot into, I think, the economy. The army that he had got melted. Game 1 goes to Casper with a civilization we've rarely seen in the tournament, Russia. Well done. Let's move on to Game 2. Okay, here we are in Game 2, and what is going on here? All of a sudden, in the finals of the AoE3 Noob Cup 2, we're seeing Russia everywhere. Russia now played a second time, this time by Hololive Great Inquisitor. And I just gotta highlight this. Good luck, have fun, coming in from both players, really highlighting one of the strengths of Age of Empires, its community. You guys are awesome. There is a camaraderie and a sportsmanship that I see in Age of Empires that I just don't see in other games. That's one of the reasons why AoE3 is probably, I'd say, my favorite game of all time. It's up there. I love Age of Empires, and that's one of the reasons why. Thanks. You got Casper, Hololive, you both are representing well. Good job. Anyway, Hololive coming in as the Russians, a civilization we've rarely seen in the tournament until now. Now we see both players bringing in the Russian civilization. I think they're a very strong civ. I've been doing very well with them myself on the ladder. They are one of my favorite civs to play. They're really neat. You've got to make sure that you have a handle on their economy. But if you can get a hold of that economy, yeah, they're really, really strong. Meanwhile, Casper playing a civilization I don't think we've seen him play in the series yet, the Portuguese. Also, historically, a very strong economic civilization. You can use them to boom up. They get a town center with every age up, and so you have great economic potential. Especially, yes, one more time, sub to Iron Kaiser. I love the name of that deck. Casper, your check's in the mail. Thanks so much. Casper coming in with the Economic Theory card. Interesting. I have read from some players that this may actually be the better Portuguese card to open with. Most Portuguese players like starting with Feitoria, but Casper opening with Economic Theory. I like the divergence. I wonder how that pans out for him. I would love to see the math on how those two pan out. And Casper's accusing Hololive of stealing my cow. Shake my head, he says, yeah. Yeah, you know what? This is the finals of the Noob Cup. You gotta do what you gotta do to win. And here we go. Casper now going up to the second age. Russia also shipping the Economic Theory card. So now both civilizations' vills will be gathering faster. I think early on, Russia has an economic advantage. And we do see right now, Russia's got 11 vills. Portugal has 10. But Portugal is on the way up to the next age. Russia is going to continue producing vills. Got 14 right now, going up to 17 vills before teching up. Yeah, in my experience, I've read that you can make it work with 14. I guess you have to idle the TC for a bit. For me, I guess the AoE2 in me, I've got to keep that TC producing. So I bet you by the time that they pop out 17 vills, he'll have the food to tech up, and that's what we'll do. Let's analyze the decks here a little bit. Casper got Economic Theory. He has one crossbowman card, one musketeer card, one military buff card, buffing up the musketeer and the cazador. The spice trade card helps gather from berries faster, and then a bunch of resources. Wood, coin, coin. I'm going to guess that, wow, wait a minute, no food. You know, I would have thought that he might pick up food in order to go to the next stage faster, but it's possible. He's keeping most of his vills on food. Maybe he thinks, yeah, I'll just get the food with my vills. And then go up to the next stage off the back of the shipments. I would not be surprised to see a Portuguese fast fortress. That's what I'm thinking. I think he goes up to the next stage quickly, using these cards. Sure enough, 700 coin coming in. Yeah, we're going to see a fast fortress from the Portuguese, I think. You know, I did predict last time we saw the Portuguese in the tournament. I was saying, you know, they're a boom civ. They're normally played sort of passively, defensively. And then we ended up seeing a rush from the Portuguese player that was successful. So I am a little hesitant to, you know, confirm what's in the mind of Casper. But that's what I'm guessing is happening here. The 700 coin coming in, allowing him to go up to the third age very quickly. We do see Zez, a couple of Cazador cards, Dragoons, and I bet you that's the composition we see from Portugal. If he gets there, picks up Cazadors, picks up Dragoons. They are a very powerful combination because the Dragoons and the Cazadors cover each other's weaknesses. Cazadors knock out heavy infantry. They knock out light cav. And then Dragoons knock out... and of course the Cazadors are better than your generic skirmisher, so they'll handle them too. Then the Dragoons knock out cavalry, and they take care of the artillery. So you have the entire combat wheel covered by these two units. Muskets and, musketeers and hussar are the other very popular combination that we see, because they have a similar covering of each other's backs. Casper picking up some wood. Steel traps coming in for him. So, again, a very strong economic focus, I think. Meanwhile, going back over to Russia. We see a church coming up. I like it. I think the church is not built often enough. The church, not only does it allow you to produce monks or priests, and gives you access to several important technologies, but also it provides a trickle of experience points. So, especially on a map like this where there are no trade posts, churches are great for helping you get out more shipments faster. Now the Russian player, let's analyze his deck. Alright, quarter wood. So we got a lot of wood resources, which I think will be very helpful for producing infrastructure. But no food shipments, no coin shipments mean I don't foresee him going for a fast fortress strategy. And if you're not going to go for a fast fortress, I think it is important that you start applying pressure quickly. That's what I want to see out of Russia. We do see 13 Streletsy. 13 Streletsy being shipped right now. And I want to see a combination of Musketeer and Strelets being used to put pressure on Portugal quickly. It's a little bit risky because with any other civilization, you know, if you get the TC down, you probably won at that point. But with the Portuguese, they just get free TCs with every age up, and so if he sacrifices his army to knock out this town center, that might be game in Russia's favor normally. But against Portugal, well, he's still got his original TC. So it is hard to apply pressure against Portugal, but I think you kind of need to do that. Because if you're just trying to outboom Portugal, that's hard. That's very, very hard. Looking at the Strelet. As an individual, they're not very strong. They only have 8 ranged damage, although they do bonus damage against heavy infantry, double damage against heavy infantry, and really good damage against dragoons. So, that's not bad. But, otherwise, they're really not that strong. Their main strength is mass. You can mass up an awful lot of Streletsy very quickly. Even their siege attack, and this is concerning to me. If you're going to rely on the Strelets to do damage, they only do 7 siege attack apiece, compared to the Musketeer, and this is a Rusket, a Russian Musketeer, that's weaker. That's still 16 attack, double. Alright, move the Strelets forward, let them absorb the damage, because these are crossbows, they do bonus damage against the Musketeer. Cossacks coming in. This is the right play from Russia, I think. Accidentally blocking in his own cavalry. This is the importance of micro. You got to make sure that your units can move. Get them in position. Cavalry finally start coming in. Don Cabrillo doing what I think the Explorer has to do. Soaking up some damage. Buying his civilization a little bit more time to put in some damage. Portuguese town center. Number 1, under siege. We have militiamen on the field. Portugal is in the 3rd age, and the first shipment of Caçadores are on their way. Now, Russia has the numbers, but again, their units, man-to-man, are much weaker. Look at the veteran Caçador. He does 18 damage and double damage against the Musketeers. They will melt the Ruskets if they get close enough. Hololive is now in a really tough position. Do you continue sieging, or do you fight the military harassing you? He's kind of going back and forth, and I think that's a mistake. You've got to commit to one or the other. He is now committing to taking down this town center. I don't know if this is the right choice. I think you might need to deal with the Caçadores. Take a look. They have low hit points, so they do go down pretty quickly, but a strong attack. So if they're allowed to just poke away at you, they're going to do a lot of damage. Casper has 5 Musketeer, and 4 of them are sitting back, not doing any damage. That's a mistake. 12 Caçadores right now versus... We have... wait a minute. 13 Musketeer, 16 Strelets. Attack. Clear this out. You've got to fight this. You absolutely need to fight this. Especially before the next 12 Caçadores hit the field. You want to clear up these numbers. Try to thin the herd. More Caçadores coming out. Now, something you've got to highlight. We're watching the action. We're watching the Russians fall apart here. So at this moment, Casper has a military momentum. However, this whole time, these town centers have been idled. Casper has 17 villagers. Hololive has 29. So So there's a very strong economic lead for Russia. I think that if we're looking at the points, you say, oh wow, 10,000 points for Casper, 7,700 points for Hololive. Casper seems to be winning here. I think that those points are not telling the full picture. And I think that there's a lot of gas in Russia's tank right now that he can use to get up to the next stage, that he can use to get up some cannons or some anti-Cassador options, and actually maybe win this thing. On the other hand, Casper is in the third age. Hololive is only in the second. So I think between having a stronger military right now and having a technological advantage, Casper's got a window of opportunity. And he's using it to play the defensive game. I understand why you do that. You're Portugal, right? But I think that might be a mistake in this case. I think you should sense that you have a military momentum and you should do something with it. Lots of skirmishers, couple of musketeer, and oh, you don't have the falconet card. Do the Portuguese get the falconet card? I'm pretty sure they do. That would be a card that I would strongly recommend is in the deck here. Because I think if you had that falconet card, you ship it, you have artillery on the field right away, and then you use that to press ahead with your military advantage and win the game. Especially because you're playing against Russia. The Russians very often typically go heavy into infantry, and artillery just shred through infantry better than anything. 20 strelets, 10 musketeer, and notice how, again, if you're paying attention to the points, I think Hololive is catching up. Stables coming out now for the Russian. I think that's a good idea, both because if I were Russia, I'd be thinking, well, he knows I've got so much infantry, so maybe, you know, I need to worry about artillery. If he brings in artillery, I need to have a response to that, and cavalry is a very good choice. Plus, even if he's not adapting and going artillery, if he stays heavy into Cassadors, then Cossacks are just the best choice. More Cassadors coming in for Portugal. And of course, you know, we're casting the game from a bird's eye view. We're able to see things that, you know, Hololive is not. But a couple of halberdier, they'll go down quickly. You know, you can focus fire them with the strelets. And when they go down, you got what? 3 musketeer? Yeah. Knock out the anti-cav, and then these Cassadors are just wide open for attack from maybe artillery, but definitely cavalry. You just come in with a bunch of Cossacks. I think it is wise that Casper's holding his halberdier back. I think if you're in Portugal right now, you have to do that. Keep them safe in case the Cossacks come. In the meantime, if it's just strelets versus Cassador, Cassador win that. They are a high-quality skirmisher. The strelet is a low-quality skirmisher whose main quality is mass, numbers. And so they should lose to the Cassador. Unless you wildly outnumber them, which here we have 27 versus 30. Yeah, strelets have the numbers, but not by much, not by enough. I like the double stable. I like it. I think what Russia wants to do, though, because nothing's coming out of these stables, I think that the Russian wants to go up to the next age. And here it is, age 3 coming in with the Adventurer. And I've got to admit off the top of my head, I don't remember what the Adventurer does. If I remember right, does the Adventurer give... I think he ships units. He ships a unit, if I'm not mistaken. Once again, 32 vils for Russia, 28 vils for Portugal. So here, we see a closing of the gap for both players. Portugal picking up that economic strength again. And that doesn't surprise me. The Portuguese economy is hard to beat. Russia had it for a little bit, but Portugal's picking up steam, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Portugal take the Vil lead soon because of the multiple town centers. Right. Meanwhile, the Russian player is picking up that mass of army that they previously did not have. Yes, it's true that the Russian military is going to be weaker mano a mano than the Portuguese one is, but now there is mass, there is strength to hold against some kind of Portuguese advance, and so I think both players kind of equalizing for second. Hololive saying going AFK. Yeah, okay, so I think they had to pause the game. Fortunately, this is a replay, so we don't have to sit here and wait for 5 minutes. They can just pause and then go. So here we go. Hope you enjoyed the break. All right. 50 Strelets versus 27 Casper. If they went head-to-head, just those two, no backup, no organ guns, I think I'd give that to the veteran Castors. I think they might come out on top. Hard to say. Hard to say, because that is a pretty big numbers advantage for the Russian. But that's feudal age. You know, those are regular Castor. That's not the. I'm sorry. That's regular Strelet, not the veteran Strelet. Speaking of which, while you're watching the tournament, I want to highlight a small mod that I put out for the game that I think is very useful. It's called Better Unique Church Card Descriptions. And what this mod does is, if you hover over the unique church cards of the different civilizations, it will actually list out what technologies it unlocks and, you know, what those techs are, right? So you can actually see right here, as we're casting the game, the Russian unique card, which has not been shipped yet, but if it does, one of the features about Russia I love are these two technologies, Westernization and Petrine reforms. In Age 3, you spend 300 wood and 300 coin, and all of your units, I should say all, the Strelets, the Musketeer, the Cossacks, and the Grenadiers, all upgrade to veteran status with that one tech. And that makes Russia very flexible at switching to different unit types. Not to mention, I mean, it covers the Musketeer and the Strelet at the same time. So even here, where you have just a strong infantry push, let alone if you want to mix in Cossacks, or, well, not a Prichnik, but Cossacks or whatever, you're able to pick that up for much cheaper than other civilizations do. So you get a it kind of fits in with the Russian theme of teching up at a discount. Discounts are the name of the game for Russia. And then Petrine Reforms does the same thing for the Imperial Age, or the Fourth Age, upgrading Strelets, Musketeer, Halberdier, Cossacks, Cav Archers, Oprichniks, and Grenadiers to the Guard status for only 2,500 coin. That might sound like a lot, but if you were to add up the upgrades for all of those units, it is a huge savings. Okay. Russia has now hit the Third Age, and you actually see they have a point advantage. Even though Portugal has an economic lead, but Russia, I think, has some military power on the field that we're not seeing from the Portuguese. Now, having said that, if they were to fight, I think Portugal wins. The Castor counters an all-infantry composition, and the organ gun would absolutely shred through a big batch of infantry. So Russia needs to have some kind of anti-artillery response. Hololive needs to expect artillery and have some response ready, whether that's cavalry or whether that's culverins. He needs something. And we actually see it is Portugal, not Russia, getting out culverin. Some anti-artillery options for them. A little bit of skirmishing going on right now for Russia. While we're here, let's take a look at the other techs the Unique Church unlocks. We also get Kalmuks, which ships some Guard Dragoons. Russia normally doesn't get access to Dragoons. So that's really nice. And Guard Dragoons, that's an Age 4 unit in Age 3. Pretty cool pickup there. And then Bashkir Ponies sending Guard Hussar. Again, Russians don't get access to Hussar. And the Hussar is man-to-man better than the Cossack. It takes up more population space, but otherwise it's a better unit. Portugal on the offense, and this is a key moment. We have Oprichnik on the field. Maybe, if you use the Cav to get on the artillery, that will be very good. Otherwise,
The cav are falling. The cav are, they're on the artillery, but it's too little too late. Notice how these guns, they have 75% range resist. So they have massive amounts of armor against ranged attacks. If you're going to fight artillery, if possible, get into melee combat. And you actually see it. It was a little bit of an accident, I think, but the Strelets did a lot more damage when they got up close and personal. The organ guns, the longer they're allowed to live, they're absolutely shredded through the Russian horde. Okay. This game is over. Match 2 has to go to Casper. I mean, it is... You're Russia right now. You're down... No, I'm sorry. Russia's in the 4th age. I'm sorry. I'll give them that. You're in the 4th age. You could ship... Oh, this 28 Streletsy card would be great. And they're on their way. This is huge. I did speak too soon. Hopefully, Strelets can put in some work. Because right now, it doesn't look good. Falconet card. Yes. Send that. That is critical. You need that card. Sorry, not card. It's not a card. That's just training. That's good, though. You need artillery on the field. I think you needed that earlier. Yeah, I think we're down to 5 Streletsy. No. No, it's too little too late. There are too many Portuguese on the field. I don't see Russia coming back from this. The cannon by itself is not enough. Hololive saying, wow, you're really good. GG. Casper says, you should get some cavalry. Only infantry in there. You know, and I think we're seeing from Casper, we're seeing some real strength here. I think this is at least in part the value of having been in the tournament so long. Having started in the qualifiers and having to work all the way up to the finals, that has put some significant experience under Hololive's belt. I'm sorry, not Hololive, Casper. Put some significant experience under Casper's belt that is giving him an edge here in this final. Game 2 goes to Casper. If Casper wins Game 3, that'll be a tournament, and Casper will be our Noob Cup champion. Can Hololive bring it back? Let's find out. Game 3, now. And here we are, game number 3. And I am shocked, absolutely shocked, in what could possibly be the final game of Noob Cup 2. We have 2 civilizations we have not seen at all in the tournament up to this point. Neither player picking civilizations I would expect. Hololive, Great Inquisitor, in the red, playing as the Chinese. Now, if you happen to watch my Age of Empires 3 tier list video on what civilizations are the easiest for newer players to learn, what kind of civs would you want to bring to a Noob Cup like this, China ranked, if I remember correctly, at the very bottom. That is not because they are a bad civilization. That is not because they are a weak civilization. It is simply because of the nature of their barracks. The Chinese are not able to construct units, to train units on a unit-by-unit basis as other civilizations can. You can't just pick up musketeer, pick up skirms. No, you have to hire banner armies as China. So you put down your barracks, and then you can research, oh, I'll pick up 3 crossbowmen and 2 pikemen, or I'll pick up 2 pikemen and 2 hussar, or maybe 2 hussar and 4 crossbowmen, whatever. You have to do this mix and match game with China that I think can be complex and would make them possibly a difficult civilization to play in a Noob Cup like this. But Hololive is determined to prove me wrong and to get a win using the Chinese. It's gutsy, and I like it. Casper, also playing a civilization that, if I remember correctly, I ranked somewhat lowly in the tournament. The Indians. India. Their main feature. And you might actually see the economy here. We've got a bunch of villas on wood, and you say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Kaiser, what's going on with the villas on wood? That's not a usual start. No, it's not. And that's because for the Indians,
their settlers cost wood, not food. So you have to put quite a few villagers on wood in order to make sure you can keep your town center producing. And the good news, of course, is that does mean that any food you do pick up is food that isn't being spent, so you're able to actually, in a certain sense, get up to the second age maybe more quickly than you otherwise would. Or at least your food eco is not strained in the same way that a typical economy is. So the Indians are an interesting choice. They have some very strong units, the Gurkha, the Sepoy, very good infantry, very good cavalry. They have camel cavalry that is very effective, as well as elephants, which can put out a lot of siege damage. The elephant, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's a cannon on an elephant. The elephant cannon is a very powerful unit. So I would define the Indians as having a very strong military, a very flexible army, a lot of options. But on the flip side, maybe a little bit harder to navigate the economy because of how their vills work. Alright, let's see if we can analyze the decks real quick, as we have the Indian player actually going up to the second age now with 13 vills. Whoa, and no, I was thinking, never mind. I was about to say, oh no, he's actually picking up the Jesuit mission early, but that's just the church under construction, not the actual trade post. So let's look at the decks. So Casper's going up to the next stage with 14 vills. We see that he's picked up the distributivism card, which I think is a very good pickup for India because you need wood badly. Not only do you need to build your infrastructure, like any civilization, but you need that wood for your vills as well. So easing up on your wood eco by picking up distributivism, a really good card. And we actually have foreign logging, which takes that even further. On India, I think this card makes a lot of sense. Let's see a lot of military cards in H2. We've got Rajputs, Sepoys, Sowars, as well as technologies that allow you to train units faster. That could be an Age 2 push, a Commerce Age push. But then we also have the 700 coin card, the 700 food card. That is a typical sign of a fast fortress. Tame elephants, boot lancer, Zamburak. Really nice unit, Zamburak. This is a nice card. Sepoy, Gurkha, and Sowar hit points and attack increased. Sowar, Royal Green Jackets. Okay, nice. Troops and villagers, alright. Both players now in the second age. A lot of military cards from India. And here we see, whoa, foreign logging is the first card to be picked up. I'm a little surprised by that. That's neither getting military on the field for a quick push, nor is it, dropping down a bunch of coin or a bunch of food in order to go up to the next stage as quickly as possible. Sort of shoring up the economy you've got, really, by getting foreign logging. I think that'll be helpful in the long run, but it does mean that Casper is possibly hoping not to get pushed early. Meanwhile, Great Inquisitor, let's take a look at your deck. T-Export ships a consulate, rickshaw, and 100 export to spend. Also grants a steady trickle of export permanently. So, Asian civilizations get access to the consulate. It is a building that allows you to ally with a civilization and pick up a bonus from them. And we do see the Germans on the way. The Iron Kaiser is pleased. I feel like I should now just root for China, but that's really not fair for the commentator. So instead, we'll keep it neutral. But the Germans are in. And if I remember correctly, when you pick Germany, your units are cheaper? Military units are cheaper, if I'm not mistaken? And then you have the option of, you can spend export. This resource right here, export at the very top. You can spend export in order to pick up certain technologies that will improve your civilization, or you can get an infusion of units. It kind of works almost like a second experience point, like a second home city. So you can ship in some German units to back up your Chinese army, again, or you can pick up some German technologies in order to improve your nation. So China has a consulate. India does not yet. Now, they do get access to a consulate, but looking at the deck here, I certainly don't see anything in the way of, you know, prioritizing consulates. So, once again, we are seeing a different strategy on hand for both players. India, focusing on India. We don't need foreign allies. China, wanting all the help it can get, calling up the Germans for some backup. We see Sepoy on the field, and we see Sowars on the way. Now, the Sowar is a ranged unit? No, that's hand cavalry. Okay, so this is basically going to be like the Hussar, right? Good against archers, skirms, and artillery. Yeah, it's a Hussar unit, essentially. And then the Sepoy is a musketeer parallel. So, Sepoy, Sowar makes a lot of sense. Again, they cover each other's backs. You would use the Sowar in order to attack light infantry, artillery, and also be a front line for other heavy cavalry. Meanwhile, the musketeer, they deal with heavy cavalry as well as they of course would go hand in hand against the fellow musketeers, and they also deal with the light infantry. So if dragoons are on the field, you wouldn't want to send the Sowars against the dragoons, but the musketeers would do a good job of it. So they cover each other's backs pretty well. Casper has a trade post up. We see on the map, and there's only one trade post on each side. Casper has it, Hololive doesn't. That means that over time, I don't think it's a world of difference right now, but it adds up. Casper will be getting shipments faster than his opponent. Hololive going up to the third age with the Confucian Academy, shipping Ming army. So we get 2 Qiang pikemen and 3 Keshik. Flying Crow, heavy artillery. I think that's being, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, that trains automatically from the Confucian Academy. It's pretty cool. Here we go. The third age is up. This building will produce artillery for free. So that provides some pressure, we'll say, for Casper to do something quickly. Because otherwise, China will just slowly start generating a big old massive artillery for free. Casper's also on the way to the third age with Carnimata. Let's take a look. It ships food, wood, and coin when built, and is Keeper of the Rats that increases the gathering rate of nearby villagers. It ships 400 food, 300 wood, 300 coin. Well, that's not bad. That's going to help you get out some army. I assume once you hit the third age, you'll want a big, massive army. So, that will be nice. I don't like building the Carnimata here. You know, I don't know where you'd put it. Like, if you're going to take advantage of a lot of the land resources, maybe putting it down, like, right here would let you gather from both of these coin faster, from the wood. Indians, I do believe they are allowed to hunt deer, so... Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't moved up. I don't know that, unless you build a lot of farms or mills or something around the Carnimata. The score's pretty even. 31 vills for India, 25 vills for China. So India right now does have a vill lead. We got to keep an eye on that. I'm really concerned about this trading post site. If Hololive does not build on that, we can actually see right now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards have been shipped for China. For India, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now a 5th is on the way. And whoa, there's a 6th. Okay, so we actually have, wow, 1 and 2. What is this? Tame elephants require fewer resources to train, and they train faster. And then British East India Company, Sepoy, Gherkin, so are hit points and attack increased. So picking up some stat cards first, that will make China a stronger, India have a stronger military in the long run. Yeah, and so I think right now, at this point, this trading post means that India is 1 shipment ahead of China.
acupuncture. All units train faster. Is that what's going on in the barracks? There's just the chiropractor or the masseuse or whatever is in there. Just, okay, we're going to do acupuncture now on the musketeer. And, you know, now get out there. Fight for the country. I'm sure that's what's going on. And they train faster because, you know, it's just so effective. 0.3 export, 0.03 export per second. And then 0.6 coin per second. This is the only entryway between the civs on this map. You know, something else I haven't mentioned yet, but India uses a lot of gunpowder. And this map works really well for India if Casper notices the Jesuit mission. We've not talked a lot about the native camps in the tournament so far, but let's go into this one. Not only do you have the Conquistador, which is a Dragoon-like unit, it's pretty nice, but take a look at this. Smokeless powder, giving all gunpowder troops plus 10 damage. Now, that's not bad for the Chinese either. We do, but if we take a look, we have Chokanu, Disciplined Arquebusier, Keshik, Changdao, and the Step Rider. Of all of these units, only the Musketeer would benefit. Yeah, only the Musketeer, only the Arquebusier would benefit. Whereas, for India, I'd say almost their entire roster. Gurkhas, Sepoy, Cannon Elephants, right? What else is there? There's that camel unit. What's the name of that unit again? The Zamburak. All of them use gunpowder. All of them would benefit from those techs. On top of that, you have Christian schools, giving you 15% faster villager build time, as well as Flying Buttress, giving your buildings plus 20 hit points. So I really like this pickup for India right now. If you're trying to hold this line here, well, giving your buildings extra HP would be useful. Obviously, giving your gunpowder units more damage. That's a good pickup. Letting you train vills faster. Good pickup. I like it. I like it. Casper's on the way to the Imperial Age. Hololive. Trying to catch up on eco. 40 vills for India, 30 vills for China. China has the bigger military, but also maybe some confusion about what to do with this choke point. And we see a castle coming up. I think that's a good pickup because the castle is what you need to produce artillery, if I'm not mistaken. And also, it provides something of a choke point for China as well. And I do think that's important. Just because, you know, India controls this side, you don't want them to be able to stream through and attack whatever. Good idea to sort of wall off, maybe literally, maybe implicitly, but cover this section for your own army as well. And we do see 4-hand mortar on the way. Excellent. Mortars have been buffed in the most recent patch to go through walls even faster. So that will be a good choice. I expect them to melt, especially if India does not really have an army to deal with it yet. And I don't think they do. I think China has a military lead that could prove definitive if China attacks now. Look at this, wow. Yeah, 11 hand mortar, that's a lot. If you could deal with the Indian army, you will melt through the structures. You should attack now. A consulate coming in for India. India finally deciding that they could use some help from overseas. But to whom, with whom, will they ally? Let's find out. He may forget to use the consulate if China decides to start attacking. Now let's see, the range on these siege elephants. Which, one of the things that's so amazing about them is they kind of do a little bit of everything. They're good against buildings, they're good against artillery, and they're really not half bad against infantry either. Yeah, we see here 40 damage, but then it's 2.5 against artillery, and 10 times that damage against buildings. Yeah, siege elephants are monstrous. I will tell you right now, a good rule of thumb. If you see that your opponent has teched up to the next age, you know, you're in age 3, you see your opponent has hit age 4, and you're sitting there with a big army, you should attack right away. Because your opponent has invested a lot of resources going up into the next age, and that means that in the short term, you have resources you put into an army that your opponent has not. That means that you might have an advantage, you might have military momentum, and if you push now, you can make some good things happen. I think Hololive is making the right choice. If you sit back and wait, Casper will be able to use that, technology in order to get up an advantage of his own that he can use to win the game. So yeah, pushing now I think is the right call. You've got to move in. 28 Gurkha, 3 siege elephants, 2 disciplined Mahout. I think you might win that. I think you've got better, more men, better men. Now, we haven't seen anything out of the consulate from Casper. Ah, India allying with the Ottomans. The Turks are here to help out the Indians. So that would mean they're... I don't think that India... 1,000 export is not a lot. I think it does make... I think the Ottomans make your vills cheaper, if I'm not mistaken. Move. Move. You need to push. You know, it's good that you're advancing, but this is pretty slow. What happens? Are these guys, I think they're packed, and they need to unpack or something like that? Yeah, this is way, way, way too slow. Look at these hand mortars go. Yeah, move with your cavalry and try raiding. Excuse me. Alright, we see from India. 14 Gurkhas shipped. Indian gunpowder. Sepoy hit points and damage increased. Notice these numbers real quick. This is an age 4 card, so, you know, age 4 cards are as strong as they get. And this gives you additional 10% extra damage, 10% extra hit points, and cheaper cost, cheaper build time. So all around just helps with your sepoys, right? But 10%. Meanwhile, going back to the Jesuit mission, you get 10% more damage in the second age. I think that's age 2. That might be age 3. But either way, that just goes to show you just how powerful native camps can be. It's very easy to ignore them. I do it all the time in my own games, so I'm not saying I'm better at this, but I would argue don't ignore them. Don't ignore them because these are powerful, powerful technologies that could really make a difference. Now we do see 2 shipments. There we go. There's 1. Special handlers. All right. Elephant population cost going down with that card. That would be useful. Meanwhile, China has a card. And there we go. 17 Changdao swordsmen getting shipped on the way. Oh, great bombards on the field. This is a Turkish unique unit, a very, very powerful artillery piece. If the cavalry had been able to get onto those cannons, that would have been devastating for Casper. But instead, the cavalry go down. They were not able to do significant damage to India. And I think that means now between the siege elephants and the great bombards. I think the infantry gets shredded here. This is not going to go well for China. Unless, oh, wait. Oh, hang on. This could be key. More cavalry coming in. The cavalry need to move around. Get on the artillery first. Absolutely slaughter this artillery. Go. Okay. Good news, the great bombards are down. And that's very, very helpful. Casper had to spend all of its export for that. It was big. I don't think it was enough. The bad news for China is that at this point the army is down. Only the hand mortars are left. And they're really not doing enough. No, they have to retreat here. A second wave of our... Oh, move in. Yeah, send more military. Keep the push going. Keep this push going. Okay, you actually might want to pull back and restock. Use this to save your artillery. Yeah, no. At this point, I misspoke. Don't keep the push going. Save your artillery. In Age of Empires 2, there's a concept that we learned called trickle-trebbing. In the final age of the game, in AoE 2, you get access to a very powerful unit called the trebuchet. And you can use the trebuchet to knock down buildings and really win the game off the power of this really powerful artillery piece. But one of the things that you don't want to do with your trebuchets is what's called trickle-trebbing. It's where you send in your trebs one at a time. Because if you send them in one at a time, they're very easy to pick off, and you can never get up enough mass of the units to actually make a difference. And you'll lose if you had just held back and saved your trebs until you had 3 or 4 or 5 at a time, you would win. In general, there's a very good practice that I think is similar to what we're seeing here, where what China needs to do is sit back, rebuild the army, and then go in for another really strong push. What you don't want to do is send your army in piecemeal. Send your in, 5 infantry and 2 cav, go. 5 more infantry, go. You need to build up and have a really big punch. Unless, the other option is you slip cavalry in and you raid and you harass and you kill vills and distract your opponent in that way. But you don't want to just send half your army to fight and the other half, staying at home. You need to build up a big force and then move out. Right now, I'd give India that advantage, that the Indian army is holding together. And I think that that's why India has survived and China had to pull back. So we're back at the DMZ here, the demilitarized zone. This bridge here that both sides are staring at each other menacingly. They actually don't see each other. But they're just chilling here. You cannot tell me that these guys cannot look across the way and see those elephants glaring at them. 58 vills for India. 48 vills for China. India has the advantage, but it's not extreme. A really good fight could still win this for China. And again, meanwhile, this whole time, we've had the Confucian Academy in the background, slowly, very slowly, producing free flying crows. And that just helps make China's army even stronger. Here we go. I think this is good. This is a good mix of units for China. If the siege elephants get caught, let me see. This is just about all of India's army right here, and I think this is a fight China wins. Now, with those step riders, artillery first, Get in there, destroy the siege. Yes, 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 yes. This is the right choice. Well done. And then the Step Riders can make short, quick work of the Sepoys as well. Sepoys, I'm sorry, not the Sepoy. That's the Musketeer. But the Gurkha. I thought there was Gurkha in here. Okay, no, it's just Sepoy. All right, well, those are Musketeers. So actually, the Step Riders will go down to the Sepoy. But look at that. Look at that. China has this huge army. India's having to rebuild. Picking up Sepoy and Zouave. It's a high hit point, multi-purpose ranged infantry mercenary. Fights well against all units. I have heard the Zouave is being compared to a skirmisher, stats-wise, range-wise, HP-wise. It has more damage than a skirmisher, but no multipliers. So normally when we look at a unit, you know, you have to say, okay, well, 42 damage, but I'm sorry, like 30 hand damage, but then it does 0.12, 1.2 versus shock infantry, 1.75 versus cav. You have to get all these multipliers to figure out what it's actually doing, figuring out where it fits in the counter unit matrix. But Zouave, they keep it simple. They do 38 damage, period. Period. So, an interesting mercenary pickup. I did not see them in the deck, so I'm guessing that there is... Let's see... Maybe that's a consulate thing? Or the monastery. I bet you the monastery has something to do with it. I do not like this. China, you had, and I think you still have, an advantage. What's the game plan here? 58 vills for China, 60 vills for India. The eco situation has evened out. This is anybody's game right now. And it's a game that I think China... I think they're winning right now. I think Hololive actually has an advantage. But you need to press your advantage. Again, this is another battle that I think is working in China's favor. I might be wrong about that, but I'm... Alright, now we got these mercenary units. They have a lot of HP as mercenaries, so that they will take some time to go down. Notice how the Zouaves also have 40% ranged resist. So as long as you're shooting at them from a distance, you know, they're not taking a lot of damage. If you had melee cavalry, they would go down much faster. If I were China right now, I would be going pretty heavily into Step Lancers. I like that pickup. Go into Step Lancers, but then just be careful of the Sepoy, which are the Musketeer unit. As long as you don't attack them, you should be fine. This is set up to be quite the match that I think plays to both players' strengths, or at least both players' preferences. Look at this. Remember earlier when I was saying I didn't like where the Carnimata was, and it wasn't really doing anything unless you build a bunch of mills? Well, there you go. Rice paddies, food, coin. They're all being worked right here. And they're all benefiting from this Carnimata, which is allowing them to gather even faster from those resources. Notice the Sacred Field, by the way. This is a unique building for the Indians. They're not allowed to harvest sheep and cows, but instead, they generate experience points. So, it's kind of, again, on a map where you've only got one trade post, that's really, really helpful. So, where are we at here? I still like China's military situation better, but I want to see action. I want to see China push in and do something. Right now, look at this. Versus right now, it's this. Yeah. And that's it. Now, yeah, India does have a couple of barracks and a stable, so they can train units quickly. But that's 99 pop versus 150. Yeah, go in. And China has taken a villager lead now. 73 vills to 64. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Hololive is looking at the scoreboard and he's seeing that Casper's up 3,000 points and he's psyching himself out. I wonder if he's saying, ah, man, you know, he must be so far ahead of me and I'm, you know, I don't want to move in and attack because he must have more than me, a better army than me, and he'll win, and then I'll just throw away my chance and I'll lose the tournament. Because this game is deciding Casper's tournament life. I'm sorry, Casper. Well, I guess technically it is deciding Casper's tournament life, but Hololive's tournament life here. If he loses this, he's our second place finalist, and Casper becomes the Noob Cup champion. So there's got to be a little bit of tension here on Hololive. He is 0-2 right now, and he looks at that scoreboard and says, "Oh man, you know, I'm worried about moving in." But dude, if you could see what we see right now, you are so far ahead, like militarily. Just move in, push, and start wrecking India's stuff. You win the game here. I think. Let's look. Honored Chokonu, disciplined. Yeah, we got honored hand mortars, the disciplined arquebusier. So, yeah. And not to mention, we actually see here, Casper is going up to the 5th age. This is a first for the Noob Cup on what could be the final battle of the tournament. Casper going up to age 5. That takes a lot of resources. You can see right here, 4,000 food, but only 1,200 wood and no gold. No coin. It's all going into Gurkhas right now. That means he's low on resources, spending all those resources to go up to 5th age. So, well, he has no resources. You push in with everything you've got. You try to win. And we do see Hololive has actually taken a score lead. Now he's moving in, but he's moving in slowly. Okay. You know, one of the things that I actually think maybe works in China's favor. I had been saying that China was one of the weaker civilizations for Noob Cup. I wouldn't recommend them. I wouldn't play them. But now that I actually see them being played, I wonder if what I thought was a weakness might actually be a strength in a noob environment. Because what China does is it forces you. First age 5 of the tournament, whoop, that's right. Casper is the first player in the entire tournament to go up to the 5th age. Does that mean that he will win in the 5th age? We've got to find out. Exalted Sepoy Tech coming in. This is big. Yes, China needs to take this fight now. You want to take this fight before the units upgrade with their age 5 technologies. Absolutely take this fight. Do what you can. Try to kill. Right here. The Zamburaks have not been upgraded at all, which is good news for China. But the Gurkhas are disciplined. And we have Sepoys coming in now. Remember, the Gurkhas are skirmisher-like units. Sepoy are musketeer-like units. Inspiration time remaining. What does this do? Let's see, I bet you. Okay, inspiration is a technology, it's a power for the Chinese that lets them see everything their opponent can see. So, he should see, hey, look, there's only 15 Sepoy. Let's take that fight. You're Chokonu win that fight. Yes. Yes. Continue. Press on. Absolutely press on, yes. Okay, this is really, really big. The question right now is, can India push forward and knock down these barracks? If the barracks go down, China probably wins this. If not, India stays in H5 longer, and that might make the difference. The Caravanserai down. We see here Janissaries, Mamelukes, very powerful units of Mamelukes, as well as more great bombards on the field. Great bombard down. Now on the flip side, we see the artillery just putting in work, and more units coming onto the field. The meteor hammers will serve well as a frontline unit. Just stay as a meat shield. Let your artillery continue to put in work. I really enjoy this unit. Just the animation I find is really funny. Alright. So, okay, the Chinese army had fallen apart, but we got a new wave coming in. I think that, yeah, they're starting to fall apart here. The defender's advantage is working for India. It's hard to tell at this point. See more units streaming in for China. They're trying to do everything they can. You know what? Wait a minute. Again, the Gurkhas are the skirmisher unit. Yeah, so the hand cav should absolutely wipe the floor with them. Oh, this is big. This is very big. Now, what China must do is keep the pressure going. You have to knock down these barracks, knock down this infrastructure. You better do something about the Corsair. I'll tell you that right now. If Casper sends forward these units, they just are going to die to the meteor hammers. Yeah, okay, the Changdao, I think, are getting hit harder than they need to. Okay, yeah, artillery on the Corsair. I don't think that's a bad idea. Yes, yeah, these guys will fall apart. Now, the Sowar is, again, kind of their version of the Tsar. And I think they actually... Ooh. Alright, bad news and good news for China. The bad news is their army is gone and they do not have reinforcements coming in. These units will fall. The good news is they took out some of the infrastructure here. Enough? I don't think so. I think Casper will likely rebuild these buildings. And at that point, if the infrastructure stays up, we've got 81 vills for India, 76 vills for China. So India has an eco lead, India has a tech lead. You know, I was talking about the Jesuit mission earlier. I missed the Berber camp. Let's talk about these guys. What in the world? There's Indian elephants for you. All right. More Chinese artillery, absolutely putting in work. By the way, these are gunpowder units, I think. I think they benefit from the Jesuit mission upgrade. Maybe they don't. Either way, you gotta love what these honored hand mortars are doing. Not just to buildings, but to units. You know, I find this absolutely fascinating that we are in the 4th, 5th age. I mean, this is the late game environment. And still, we're kind of having these battles that sometimes are really big. They keep building big waves of units, but then it ends up becoming a skirmish of, you know, 10, 15 units deciding the fate of empires. It's really fun. Yeah, here, these guys just fall apart. This is a waste for India, I think. Yeah. I think Casper is getting
I don't know if cocky is the right word. He's... for whatever reason, Casper is throwing away units that he doesn't need to be throwing away. He needs to... I'm going to give him the advice that I was giving Hololive earlier. He needs to pull back and regroup his army. You need to get a big ball of army up. Because if you allow your army to get picked off piecemeal, 5 here, 5 there, you will fall apart to the Chinese horde here. You know what I would love to see from China? Actually, from either player. Move into this zone right here, throw down some castles, throw down some defenses, and sort of claim it with more production buildings. This moment is okay, but I don't like how these meteor hammers are kind of in the back of the artillery. Still, the army that China's got is putting in the work. Yeah, wow, India is falling apart here.
Huh?
One thing I will say to Casper, you know, looking at the situation right here, you are floating a lot of resources. You've got 3,000 food, 2,800 gold. Use your market. You know, if you need more wood, then buy and sell to get it. Now, you might have a plan. I see that you just put down 2,000 gold, so you know, we may have a game plan here. If the Delhi gate goes down, and it does, that is the first wonder of the game to go down, and it goes down on India's side. China pushing in, and it's looking to me like they might actually win the game right here. Now, I don't want to rule Casper out. He is a Noob Cup finalist. We have seen him push back against Russians before. We've seen him push back when pressure was on his side of the map for some time. You may remember that second game against Hothir, where he very effectively pushed back an Ottoman assault with the British. So maybe you could do the same thing here with the Indians against the Chinese. But having said that, boy. Now what I want to see, take the meteor hammers. I know you can't see this right now, but take the meteor hammers and move into these farms. If you do that, you shut down the Indian economy, and that probably wins you the game. If you're not already winning, that might do it for you. This is big. The barracks going down here. I think China has this. I think Hololive stays in the tournament. I don't think he's going down this game. Now, we actually, you know, have yet to see the pressure hit the vills. So we have 92 vills for India versus 76 vills for China. So in that sense, the economy is still favoring India, but I don't know. We've got, look at that, an even more army being built. I gotta give Hololive huge kudos for just keeping the military production going. So often what we see in both Age of Empires games are players who, they build enough of whatever and then just stop. Whether that's economy, I've got 25, 35, 45 bills, I'm good, I'm done. Or whether it's military. I've got up the army I want to use to fight, and I'm going to fight with these units. And meanwhile, my barracks and my stables will just sit by unused. And it won't be until after I lose that army that I go, wait a minute, I need more. Here, China, he's continuing to produce even as he fights in Casper's base, and that is a huge benefit to the Chinese player.
Ooh, interesting. You're pulling back. Why? What do we got? Let's see what's going on here. We've got meteor hammers on the field. We've got iron flails on the field. Interesting that you have disciplined meteor hammers and iron flails seem to kind of do the same thing. Ottoman Expeditionary Force trying to get up more great bombards. Now, you know what? Like I was saying, don't rule Casper out. And here we see kind of a second win for India. The Ottomans coming in at a clutch moment. Great bombards on the field will deal with infantry. The Janissaries, meanwhile, will absolutely put in work against cavalry. Which I think right now the Janissaries are more important because we have meteor hammers, iron flails. That's all cav. And they're doing work against what were the Gurkhas. But the bad news for India. This looks really good. I mean, he's absolutely pushed back this wave of mortars. And it's so funny. You look at the scoreboard and you say, wow, Casper, 64,000 points. Hololive, 48,000. India must be winning. But I think that India very nearly lost the game right there. And now it's a question of, you know, can China keep the pressure going? Can they, you know, are they running low on steam? Can India push back on this? I think this game is way, way closer than the scoreboard would indicate. Probably, you know, the huge thing. I think that China has forgotten about the export. You are floating 5,000 export. You need to be using your consulate. Pick up some units, pick up some techs. I don't think that's happened at all in the game so far. And that's a problem. Okay, here, this is a really, really big moment. These units, Janissaries, Sepoys, they're all musketeer. So if we had, that means they're going to absolutely wreck the cavalry. The question is, does China have some kind of anti-infantry option? You have the, I think the arquebusier, let's see. Yeah, the arquebusier is going to be good. That's an anti-infantry gunpowder unit. The Chukunu, obviously, as well. Bombards taking hits. It would be good if the bombards go down. Oh, so close. But you know, that's the thing about units in AoE3. It has 642 HP. As long as it has even 1 HP, it's going to continue to put out that massive 700 damage every shot. But you gotta factor multiplier speed and stuff. Now this is a big moment. We see a lot of army coming out. Will the Chinese be able to push back with this wave? Oh, that does not look like enough. That does not look like enough. I think that the counteroffensive is coming in for India. And right now, you know, earlier I was talking about population in order to indicate just how, kind of the lay of the land, the situation of the battle. It was like nearly 200 for China and then like 100 for India. Now we have India nearly topping out at 200 pop and China at 150 pop. That tells you a lot right there. Right now, India has momentum. Hololive was so close, but I'm thinking... Here we go, look! Look, all of a sudden, all of that export is being used now. The German Expeditionary Army coming in. German, Prussian needle gunners, skirmishers, and heavy cannon are on their way. This is a fantastic pickup. And if only you could ship these units, you know, if only they came in right away, I think this would be enough to stop the Indian push. The question is going to be, though, because they're trickling in so slowly, are 18 needle gunners enough to hold off the Indian army in time for 18 more to come out? In time for 18 more to come out. I don't think so. I don't think this is enough. We'll see. Here we go, round 2. More needle gunners. Heavy cannons trying to do what they can. But the bombards, those bombards, if the bombards weren't here, I think the consulate might be enough. China's one and only town center is down. No more shipments coming in for China. Well, no, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? This guys, Noob Casper over here can't see 2 town centers right in front of him. Sentries are out. The German consulate is down. That's game. That's game. At this point, okay, we've got more barracks, which is good, but you're building cavalry, right? That was what? The Forbidden Army. I think that's Iron Flails and Meteor Hammer. You're building the cavalry against Sepoy, which is a musketeer unit. I think you're done. And, you know, Casper's pretty good at keeping the pressure going as well. Even if by some miracle China could defeat this army right here, knock them out, there's another wave, you know, ready to go back at base, I'm sure. Yeah, we see right here, barracks being built. You know, just a forward base to continue applying pressure. I think this game is done. It is done. And we see here, Hololive says that comeback was crazy. Yeah. No, absolutely. You're right. If you were looking at the scoreboard and thinking, oh, Casper's... No. That was, like, to the wire. China very nearly took that. I think China could have taken that. I think a little bit more pressure being applied a little bit faster would have been it. But that is our tournament. That is Game 3. Casper takes the match and becomes the Age of Empires 3 Noob Cup 2 champion. Very, very well done. Congratulations, first off, to Hololive for playing an amazing game. This final match was insane. You played your heart out. We could tell that. You did a really, really good job. You should be really proud of your performance, especially in this last match. Bringing it this close to winning the match. I think it's rare in a set where you see someone's final game be like their best. But I really do think, Hololive, that was your best match of the set. You did a great job. I'm really impressed with what you were able to pull off as China. Really well done. Really well done. But Casper, congratulations. Champion. Very, very well done. Game after game after game. And one of the things I got to give you, you are worthy of the title of Noob Cup Champion. Because what we saw from you throughout this series was an adaptability and a change in strategy that I think kept throwing your opponents off. Some games you would rush and try to knock your opponent out very quickly. Other games you'd go for that more economic focus. And then in other games, like in this one and in Game 2 against Hothier, we saw that you were on the back foot and you were able to keep your calm, keep your cool, and repel that attack and recover and eventually win those matches. And so I think that we've seen skill from you. I know I've seen in the server, you've talked about how you've done research on not just strategies generally, but on how to fight your fellow players. You know, what kind of strategies are they using and how can you beat them?
You've approached this tournament with a seriousness and an intentionality that has obviously served you well. You have earned the title, Casper, of AoE3 Noob Cup 2 champion. Well done. The internet is giving you a round of applause. Great job, man. Guys, thank you so much for watching this tournament. This has been an amazing series. I started this YouTube channel a year and some change ago with the very first Noob Cup for AoE 2. And here we are, a year and some change later, wrapping up the AoE3 Noob Cup 2. This was awesome. I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. It has been an absolute blast for me to cast and organize. I think, from what I've heard, my players have really enjoyed playing in the tournament. I hope you guys have really enjoyed watching it. Thanks so much. For the last time in the AoE3 Noob Cup 2, this is the Iron Kaiser, signing off. Have a great one out there, guys.